There's a massive rumor going around the internet that describes two major Marvel villains coming into the MCU. I want to break that down. Plus, last night we got our first look at the coming Avengers game from Square Enix, and the internet didn't like it, really didn't like it. I want to explain why.
It's like the news, but for nerds. Subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Today's shout out goes to Geek Variety. Indeed, the character of Onslaught is made up of Magneto and Professor X. Make sure you stay to the end of this video where we will ask another nerd card question. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. I'm, of course, Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. And guys, I'm sure you've seen in the news recently, things are kind of tumultuous here on YouTube. Things are weirder than ever, and I just gotta be real with you. I really need those likes. I'm setting a like goal of 3,000. Come on, guys. If you're early in this video, smash that like button. Let's get up to 3,000. So, Marvel's The Avengers game. It was revealed to the world last night. And by the way, if you're one of those people that hung out with us on the stream, despite me making that super clickbaity thumbnail that said we'd be breaking down the Avengers footage, and then us having to watch Square talk about every other game that they could possibly talk about before they eventually talked about the Avengers game. Yeah, if you were one of those people, firstly, my bad. My bad on that. And also thank you for sticking it out. It actually ended up being a pretty fun stream, mostly just making fun of me for getting the times wrong. But we eventually got there, and Square did eventually reveal the first look at Marvel's The Avengers game. And although I was personally pretty excited and kind of blown away, the rest of the internet, quite frankly, was not. At all. And I was actually really surprised at the reaction that a lot of people had. Let's get into this. A lot of the negative reactions I saw online was due to the fact that Crystal Dynamics had done their own reimagining of the Avengers characters. What I'm basically saying is these look nothing like the characters in the MCU. They didn't use the actors and actresses' likeness for this game. And a lot of people were upset by this. They had expected to see the likeness of the characters we saw in the MCU. And I think the way that people were hyping this game up, specifically because it's an Avengers game, maybe gave that impression. Maybe that was a thing. Now, for me, this isn't personally a big issue, but I have to admit the memes were pretty good. Now, for me, I'm not bummed that they don't look like the characters in the MCU. I mean, the Spider-Man that's in the PS4 Spider-Man game doesn't really look like Tom Holland. That's totally fine. I still think that character's awesome. Seems like Peter Parker to me, and the game is legit. But frankly, upon further inspection, I don't think these models look all that great at all. I particularly think that the Captain America and the Iron Man look a little too average dad. Like seriously, it's kind of a weird interpretation of these characters. We also saw very little of actual gameplay, and the trailer and the sizzle reels themselves were a little bit confusing, and we never got a clear-cut idea of who the main villain is for the game or how the stories are gonna roll out for the game in the future. We did hear a lot of positive stuff for the game. I mean, seeing that engine, and that's what all of the environments look like, and the fluidity of what gameplay we did see was encouraging. And there was the fact that all of the DLC for the game in the future is going to be free, and they're not gonna focus on microtransactions. Those are all really positive things. But overall, I think this is just a huge disconnect between what the studio was doing and what the marketing team was doing and what the people that are us, the audience, was expecting. And I don't think Square or Crystal Dynamics is completely innocent in this equation, because the way they marketed this was deliberately a little misleading. Even 2.5 years ago, when they put out the announcement for this game, it was put out on Marvel's official Twitter. And I remember thinking back then, oh crap, is this gonna tie into the MCU? Is this finally gonna bridge the gap between the amazing medium of video games and the incredible cinematic achievement of the MCU? And pretty quickly I realized that was not gonna be the case, but either way, they are trying to get all of the hype from Avengers. It's almost like they wanted all of the hype and the benefits that come with the Avengers brand, and they sort of leveraged it, but then they didn't want any of the expectations or extreme criticism that would come with such a beloved brand as well. And I think there's sort of a disconnect between the more casual Marvel moviegoer and the hardcore video game fan that has played like all of the Final Fantasy games, and I think that was part of the problem with last night's presentation as well. So yet another interesting example of this happening when it comes to a big franchise and a big video game. I want to know what you guys think about this. I mean, have you seen a lot of the negativity online about this game? Did you watch last night's live stream? Are you sort of negative on the game now too? Or are you like me, like really excited about the game and kind of surprised that there's so much negativity surrounding it? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comment section. But the news when it comes to that Avengers game is that the internet is really not that hyped about it. Kind of disappointed with what we got last night. All right, let's talk about this new MCU leak. Now, this came out a couple of days ago, but I haven't had a chance to really dig into it, but it does seem to be more legit than I first thought. The Redditor, the Marvel Scoop Master, recently posted about this rumor that talks about the next two villains coming in the MCU. A lot of the talk of the town has been like, how can you replace Thanos? Who's gonna be the next big bads after Thanos? And it appears that two major Marvel villains are going to be coming in to sort of answer that call. And the reason there's going to be two is because you will have one for sort of the Earthbound story that's going on, and then one for the cosmic story that's going on. Now that falls in line with some rumors we've recently been hearing that Marvel is indeed going to split its story among the Earthbound heroes and the cosmic heroes. You're gonna sort of have an arc that takes place over 3 to 5 years with the Earthbound heroes, and then a different arc that will be taking place out in the cosmos for the cosmic heroes. That would of course be Captain Marvel and the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now when it comes to the Earthbound heroes, the Marvel Scoop Master proposes that Norman Osborn will be that main villain. This is something we've talked about a lot on this channel. A lot of signs pointing to Norman Osborn being introduced in Spider-Man Far From Home, and Dark Reign sort of being adapted in the next couple of years, heading towards a Dark Avengers movie. I am so excited for that. That's dope. But the new news coming in this leak is about who will be the major villain of the cosmic story in the MCU. This is both interesting and surprising to me, but apparently they are going with Michael Korvac. Michael Korvac is a pretty obscure Marvel character. The Korvac saga was a big arc in the comics, but just like the Guardians of the Galaxy and kind of even the Avengers before they came to the silver screen over at Marvel Studios, they're not that well known. Now, the brief history, the TLDR of the comic books for Michael Korvac is that he is basically from an alternate Earth. He betrays humanity when they get invaded by these super smart robot alien dudes. He gets some powers and is then used as a pawn by the Grandmaster sent throughout time to fight different heroes. He then gains some powers from the Grandmaster and escapes his control to come to our universe, that's Earth 616. He researches some science from Galactus and ends up getting some of the power cosmic and becoming a super powerful godlike character in the Marvel 616 universe. Eventually comes to Earth to try to turn it into a utopia, and as you can imagine, that doesn't go that well either. This sounds pretty cool, and I think it's pretty interesting that this leak denotes that Korvac would be explored in Captain Marvel 2 before then being explored in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I mean, this guy would be powerful enough once he came and, absorbed that stuff from Galactus. That version of the character would be strong enough to give Carol Danvers a run for her money. That'd be a good fight. That would be kind of cool to see. Now, all of this sounds really interesting to me. I love the idea of Dark Reign with the Earthbound heroes, and Korvac is such a weird, interesting choice to do in the cosmic side, and I'd love to see how those stories could eventually intersect. I mean, Korvac does eventually come to Earth. Could they maybe do a retelling of that and sort of combine the Korvac saga with Dark Reign? That would be really interesting. Another reason I think Korvac could be really cool is because he is from a different universe and he is used by the Grandmaster like jumping throughout space and time. And so there's an opportunity here to not only tie in some of the stuff that happened in Endgame, and again guys, I'm going to tell you that I do not think they got out clean after Endgame, and that the multiverse and sort of the shattered multiverse will be sort of the backdrop for a lot of the conflict in Phase 4. But what's really interesting is you could alter the story, the origin story of Korvac, and instead of having him enslaved to the Badon, and instead of having him then enslaved to the Grandmaster and used in that sort of a way, perhaps he could be used by the Beyonders. Maybe he's a tool of some powerful entities, just like Loki was for Thanos in Phase 1. Yeah, maybe they could be doing that with the Korvac character, but instead sort of background set up the Beyonders and eventually that would lead us to Secret Wars. Because if you haven't noticed by now, I'm really keen on Secret Wars, and I think that's the way the MCU should go. Either way, that's the leak. Those are the rumors. What do you think about this? Norman Osborn as the main villain for the Earthbound story in the next arc, and then Korvac, Michael Korvac, being the main villain of the cosmic side for Phase 4. What do you think about all of that? Let me know in the comments section below. Now let's check the nerd card before we get out of here. As I mentioned, Korvac is originally from a different Earth, not Earth 616. What Earth, and please give me the number, is Michael Korvac originally from in the comic books? Answer that question in the comment section below. I want to remind everybody that it is E3 week. We are covering a lot of the video game stuff over on the Den of Nerds gaming channel. I'm doing the Nintendo thing today, watching it in just a little bit here, seeing what's going down at Nintendo Direct, and then doing a video for the gaming channel. Go check that out and subscribe over there for all of your gaming needs. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.